Yo guys, it's Linux Benchmarks here. In today's video, I want to teach you guys how to install Nobara. If you guys don't know what Nobara is, it is basically just a Fedora distro, but it has lots of added packages to it that basically make the experience for the end user a lot more easier, and you may have a lot more less issues, I would say, when like first setting up the distro. I can give you a basic rundown of what Nobara is in detail by Glorious Agro and what he said in what Nobara is. It says here the Nobara project, to put it simply, is a modified version of Fedora Linux with user-friendly fixes added to it. Fedora is a very good workstation OS. However, anything involving any kind of third-party or proprietary packages is usually absent from a fresh install. A typical point-and-click user can often struggle with how to get lots of things working beyond the basic browser and Office documents that come with the OS without having to take extra time to search documentation. Some of the important things that are missing from Fedora, especially with regards to gaming, including wine dependencies, OBS Studio, third-party codec packages such as those for GStreamer, third-party drivers such as nvidia drivers, and even small package fixes here and there. This project aims to fix most of those issues and offer a better gaming, streaming, and content creation experience out of the box. More importantly, we want to more point and click friendly and avoid the basic user from having to open the terminal. It's not that the terminal and all terminal usage are a bad thing by any means. Power users are more than welcome to continue with using the terminal, but for new users, point and click ease of use is usually expected. Nobara, it says here as well, like Fedora, Nobara isn't a Fedora spin by any means. It's literally just Fedora with his own repositories now and his own like applications and all that. So I'm going to teach you guys how to install this on my laptop that I have, which is a very old, not necessarily old, but a very low-end laptop that actually does not need Nobara. I usually use Nobara on my main desktop. Right now, I'm actually just using Fedora KDE, as most of the stuff that's in here, I can just set up manually in the terminal by myself anyways. But like, I would say Nobara is definitely a recommended distro if you're a new user. So the first thing you guys want to do basically is go to nobaraproject.org and click on download Nobara. So if you're coming from Windows, which I bet you most of you guys are who are trying to move over to Linux, the maintainer, which is Glorious Agro, he recommends Balena Etcher as using for flashing the ISO to a USB. If you don't know what Balena Etcher is, it's literally just a USB flasher for flashing ISOs to a USB. You can also, if you're on Linux and you want to distro hop, and you don't already like have a flasher like pre-installed on your distro, like I know Pop! OS has Popsicle, Fedora has just like the Fedora flashing application, which works really well, and I've used it for actually a decent amount of time. The one I use at the moment is called Impression, which is a GTK4 app that's literally just for flashing ISOs to a USB, and it does a really good job. But if you're coming from Windows, I would definitely recommend Balena or Rufus. That's another one you can use, but Balena would probably be the recommended one. Now, as he says here, we offer 3 versions of Nobara: Nobara Official, Nobara Gnome, and Nobara KDE. So if you scroll down here, there is, the way to download it. Explains up here as well. The only difference between the official ISO and GNOME ISO is official has pre-enabled extensions for a different cosmetic look. Other than the desktop environment, GNOME with extensions versus GNOME versus KDE, all 3 have identical packages. The official ISO is aimed at people who like GNOME's functionality, but like KDE's layout. If you prefer to make your own GNOME modifications, I recommend using the GNOME ISO, not the official ISO. So yeah, if you grab the official one, it basically has like a bunch of pre-installed GNOME extensions installed, which do make the desktop experience really good for if you're not used to the vanilla look of GNOME yet. I usually either pick the official one and like disable some of the extensions that are pre-installed. But most of the time, I've installed the KDE one before a bunch of times, as I always like to go back to KDE Plasma and use it because I do like how KDE Plasma works. As before I was using Pop! OS, and now I've fucking moved back over, and I keep distro hopping backwards and forwards, and I honestly, I'm got a bit insane because I keep distro hopping. But if you're using a NVIDIA GPU, you can also grab the pre-installed NVIDIA drivers. So usually, when you grab Nobara, you would install Nobara, boot into it, and then usually the NVIDIA Glorious's NVIDIA little application would come up on the first boot, and you would just install the NVIDIA drivers that way. But now that he has specific ISOs for that, that's really good. So, you don't really have to worry about installing NVIDIA drivers, as they'll be pre-installed for you if you pick those ISOs. It also says here to be it only supports the latest NVIDIA driver on, like, rather the newer cards. So if you have a older NVIDIA card, I would look at the supported hardware page, which will explain to you, like, I'm guessing, some links to driver support for DXVK, because there is a lot of people lately that have been posting some Reddit posts on the Linux gaming forum, which don't have the newest hardware. They have, like, over like 8 or 9 year old hardware, and they expect, to be able to play games through DXVK, which they can't because either the GPU doesn't support, like Vulkan 1.3, which is needed for DXVK to, like, translate stuff properly with Vulkan, and like their hardware just frankly just does not support it. There is also a Steamdeck ISO, which was he was able to get the Steamdeck to work with Nobara basically fine. He has like the game scope package and the, like, Steam Deck like thing that puts you into, like, the Steam Deck stuff, so that all works properly. But, like, I haven't tested this as I don't have a Steam Deck, but you can try it on a Steam Deck, and if it does work quite well for you, that's good. But if you do have issues, I wouldn't really comment down below, as I won't be able to help you that much if it's specifically a Nobara Steam Deck issue. But if it's anything else that's, like, desktop related, I probably can help a bit. And if you don't want Nobara 38, which is just Fedora 38, you can grab Nobara 37, which is Fedora 37. But I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, you can grab it, but I would just recommend that you just grab the latest one, as if you're going to use Gnome, it has, like, newer features and stuff like that, and it just runs generally, like, a lot better on some of the, like, newer hardware, I would say. So the next thing you want to do, obviously, is flash it on a USB. So like I said, grab the Lena Etcher, grab yourself, I think, how big is this? This is 3.1 gigabytes. So you should be okay with a 4 gigabyte flash drive. But I have a bunch of 16 gigabytes, so I'm all goods there. So flash it, and then I'll see you guys when we boot into the Nobara install. Also, don't be alarmed when you're booting up your laptop. If you see this, this is just systemd basically checking things that everything is working, like the Bluetooth service. You can also see, like, a modem manager service, network manager, wait online service, basically a bunch of different sessions and things that need to be started up on service. And as we can see here, we are now booted into the Nobara USB, basically, where we will install Nobara. So you want to click on Install System if it doesn't pop up. For me, it did pop up, so we'll just continue. You don't have to be connected to the internet necessarily. You can do an offline install. There's, like, no issues there. Open this up a bit, pick the time zone. I'll click next. Yep, keyboard's all good. And then I'll just erase the disk. As you can see here, it's showing us the current partition that we have, which is Pop! OS. If you guys didn't know, I did do a Pop! OS install guide a couple of days ago. I would definitely go watch that video if you want to learn how to install Pop! OS on your, whatever PC, laptop. But you can see here, and then after, what it's going to create, it's going to create a BTRFS partition, create a boot, an EFI system, a swap as well for our memory. And yeah, we just want to go next. Probably one other thing I'll talk about is Nobara doesn't support Secureboot at all. So if you do have that enabled in your BIOS, I would highly recommend that you disable that, because I think if you have it enabled, you might have issues, and it's because of the kernel that's used In Nobara, there's some patches applied to it, some Zen patches that Glorious Eggroll grabbed from the Zen kernel and applied it to the kernel that's used in Nobara. So, yes, turn off your Secureboot, and you also can dual boot with Nobara as well, as it does have a grub menu when you first boot. So if you want to use Windows alongside, you can definitely do that. If we actually go back to the partitions, I guess what you would do is you'd probably like what I usually do is I split the partition on you can definitely do that. You can split a partition on one drive. So I usually give like maybe like 300 gigs to Linux or whatever, and then I'll just pick that partition and then it will just install on that partition. And then usually Nobara will detect it, the Windows install for you, and then it might even be install alongside option for you. It may actually detect Windows already on this install, and you can just click install alongside, and then it will just install alongside Windows. But yeah, I'm just going to do erase disk because I don't have Windows installed on this. There's literally no reason. It runs like crap on this laptop. So I'm just going to pick my username now. Just call it Netty because why not? Do a very simple password as I don't really care that much. I have nothing safe on this computer. Yeah, here's a summary of everything, and then we just want to click install. If you also don't know, this installer is called Calamari. It is used on some Linux distributions. I do know that Fedora is creating a new web-based installer out of Flutter that's Google's code that they use, so they decided to use that for some reason. I don't really know much about coding necessarily, if Flutter is a good code to use when creating like a installer for Linux, but that's really cool. I've seen the mock-ups and they look really good, so hopefully that will get used in the next Fedora release, which will be Fedora 39. But back to this, you can check the terminal screen of what it's doing, and like you see the progress bar and all that. And yeah, after this installs, you guys just want to reboot the computer, unplug the USB when it's like fully powered off. And then boot into Nobara. As we can see here, it says all done. Nobara Linux 38 has been installed on your computer. You may now restart into your new system or continue to use the Nobara Linux live environment. So click restart now, and if I click done, it's going to restart the computer. So now I'm going to unplug the USB when the laptop is fully powered down, because if not, then it will pick my USB as the first boot option, which we don't want. And here, unplugged it. And then, yeah, now we'll usually come up with a grub screen, which it did, but it won't come up with my capture card because it doesn't pick that up. But guys, want to just select the latest kernel version on the grub screen that comes up. And as we can see here, now it's booting up. Alright, and as we can see here, now we actually are booted into Nobara on my laptop, and it says, welcome to Nobara Linux. Thank you for choosing Nobara. This welcome screen will help guide you through the available resources for Nobara, as well as help you set up your computer to your liking. Enjoy the Nobara project team. I guess it's a Nobara project team, but there's only like, I would only say maybe a couple people actually maintaining this distro. So definitely, if you really enjoy using Nobara and you actually want to support Glorious Eggroll and everyone else that works on Nobara, I'm pretty sure there is there's a contribute to Nobara section, so you can easily go to his Patreon, contribute to his GitHub or GitLab, and then also you can actually go to his Discord, which I did not know there was a link for that. So if you want to, go to his Discord. It's a very, very, I would say pretty good Discord community that you can join. I'm in it and I actively scroll through things if there's issues or, like what everyone else is talking about. But in general, the first thing you want to do is a little pop-up will come up saying video playback and encoding enablement setup wizard. And it says codecs are not installed. Oh no. And it says here the reason. It says due to US patent laws, we are not able to include some important video playback and encoding packages on the Nobara installation media. However, these are freely available to download and install with your consent, which we are asking for now. Please note that without these packages installed, video playback in some games, browsers, and media players will not work correctly. Additionally, without these packages, you will be unable to use video encoding in OBS Studio and Blender. Would you like to install the required video playback and encoding packages now to resolve the issue? And it says here in brackets, strongly recommended. So yes, I'm going to click accept. It's going to ask for your password, and then it's going to bring up a terminal screen and its own little window. Don't worry about it. It's literally just installing the packages for you. At the moment, it's just checking the repositories, downloading some updates, probably do a couple extra things as well. Usually it will like pick the nearest mirror for you, so you get the best ping times to those servers. And yeah, just let that install, and I'll tell you guys what to do after that's installed. And as we guys can see here, it's installing the required codecs. It seems like it's actually doing a update. So yeah, it seems like it's upgrading my Mesa to a higher version. Nobara uses actually a mixture of different Mesa packages to give a rather stable experience, so you don't really encounter many issues. So like if you're using like a browser or whatever for like video decoding, it's going to use a rather older version of Mesa. But if you're playing games on Steam or Lutris or whatever, like a system version of those applications, it's going to use like Mesa 23.2 Git version, or whatever the latest Mesa version is. But yeah, as you can see here, it's basically just, it's installing it, it's cleaning it up, it's verifying things, make sure that everything's, where everything should be installed. And now it's actually installing codecs. As you can see here, it's grabbing some GStreamer plugins, libraries. It's grabbing x265 libraries, xvid core, OpenCore, some FmpEg libraries. And yeah, it's also upgrading Pipewire for us, so that's cool. If you guys don't know what Pipewire is, it's literally what makes your headphones and microphones all work properly in Linux. Alright, as we can see here, the codec installation was completed. We can click OK, and that will close. It also did an update, so what I would do probably is either go through here. So there's a page called First Steps, and basically, every time you want to update your computer, I would click the update my system, or if you can just look in here, there's an app already there as well. So you can click on that, and it will just bring up a terminal window, type a password, and it will update our computer. I would not recommend updating the distro through Gnome software or through KDE Discover, as Glorious Oakrol has stated that updating apps on those stores will have conflicts with different repositories. I think you said it's something like that. It was like it was not gonna update properly with like the specific things that Nobara uses. So highly recommended, not recommended. You need to update always through this application until either Glorious Oakrol changes this, or I don't know, something else gets changed. But I would just upgrade through this, and you'll be all goods when it comes to things not breaking on you. Alright, also in the updater, it also asks, if you want to update Flatpak. If you don't know what Flatpak is, it is a application that is basically sandboxed. It's kind of like separate from the operating system, but it's it's got its own dependencies of the application that you install, and it literally is a I forgot to say that it's a package manager. So there's like Nobara will use Fedora, so it's going to use .rpm packages for like system packages, but you can also use Flatpak, which is another package manager that is usually pre-installed on most distros nowadays. But yeah, like I said, Flatpak is like a sandbox thing, so it's going to check for Flatpak updates. And now that everything's updated, we can reboot the computer. So after reboot, I'll tell you guys what else you can do after that. Alright, and now we are back into Nobara, and we can first of all go into Nobara Welcome again. We can go to I guess we'll go to recommended additions. So this is where usually you'll install you got some apps here. You got Blender, you've got Kdenlive, OBS Studio, and Discord. Now, the recommended additions are modified versions of these applications. So for example, for Discord, there's a lot of things that are enabled that are not enabled by default if you install Discord the regular way, either through flatpak or through the .rpm way. So this will install the .rpm version of Discord, but it will have a lot of like environment variables like applied to it for things like I think hardware acceleration. There's a bunch of other things that apply to it that really do enhance it. And same goes for OBS Studio. OBS Studio has a bunch of plugins pre-installed for you. So if you have like like an AMD card and you want to use their modified VARP encoder, it's like a GStreamer VARP plugin. I forgot the developer that maintains it, but they decided to, Glorious Net developer decided to basically create a separate plugin for AMD encoders on AMD GPUs. So that's pre-installed in OBS, and there's a bunch of other things that apply to it. And I think same goes for Kdenlive. I don't think there's anything applied to that. It's just the system package version of Kdenlive, I'm guessing. And same goes for Blender. Just an easy way of installing some quick apps that you might need. So we're going to install probably, I guess, like, if we do a test run, we could just install Discord. So it's going to open a separate terminal window and it's going to install it for us. Okay, so like I said before, if you guys have any issues, or if you, want to, I don't know, just go talk to everyone about Nobara, you can join the Discord server, and you can also go to the unofficial community subreddit on Reddit. So the next thing that we want to go into for Nobara is the Gnome extensions. So we actually picked the back at the start of the video, I decided to choose the Nobara official ISO, which includes Gnome extensions. If you don't know what Gnome extensions are, they basically just are able to give Gnome a different look and feel of like different extensions that like are able to kind of like extend that. So you're able to like tweak things, make things look different, make things look, I don't know, just not like vanilla Gnome. And Glorious decided to install a decent amount of Gnome extensions in Nobara. So if you want to actually change them or customize them, you want to go to the extension manager application, and this will let you basically change the extensions in Gnome. So as we can see here, there is a couple extensions that are already turned on by default, and there's a bunch of extensions that are actually installed but are disabled at the moment. One is that I would enable is the app indicator. What this does is apps like Discord, Steam, plenty of other applications will add a little icon down near the calendar, where you're able to like close the application, open certain things. With this disabled, that won't appear, so I would keep this enabled. Arc menu is this right here, which is allows you to kind of like with Windows, open shortcuts, go to folders in the files, go to tweaks, go to settings, go to software, and we can customize it really easily. Just click on the settings of it. We can position it differently, so if we want, we can put this in the center. We'll just leave it on the left. You can go to the menu. We can change the menu layout. So usually I'll choose the modern and I'll choose the Windows 11 theme, which looks really nice, I would say. It looks really, really big on my display because of the screen resolution that's being used, which is 1280 by 720. But yeah, there's a bunch of other things you can do. You can really like, change it and make it look the way you want it to look. You can change the icon down here as well to like a different, if a different distro icon. So Nobara has its own, but you could choose, literally any like icon if you want to. You can even just, if you have your own, you can upload that. And yeah, that's one of the extensions. There's also like Blur My Shell, which I don't think works because we have Arc Menu enabled. But if we disable Arc Menu and we press the super key, as you can see here, the wallpaper that's applied has a blur around this rectangle. So whatever like wallpaper is picked, it's gonna like grab that and then blur it. With it disabled, it's just gonna be black. So it does use a bit of more CPU and RAM probably. So usually I don't use it, especially on this laptop, as it probably, actually it was handling it quite well. So I would definitely, if you like that stuff, like the kind of looks kind of like aesthetically pleasing, then yeah, sure, you should enable it, I would say. There's also things like clipboard history, and then you got dash to panel. So that's the panel at the bottom of here. We can enable dash to dock, which is kind of like, a Mac OS dock. And we just, put our cursor down, it comes up, and we can press the show apps, which opens the kind of the more normal GNOME application layout. So sometimes I'll usually bounce around between those in GNOME when I'm running GNOME. At the moment, I'm running KDE Plasma, so that's that doesn't really matter at the moment. But yeah, I'll usually bounce between dash to dock to dash to panel because I don't know, I just like switching things. I don't really like staying on one thing. But usually I'll just use dash to panel. Especially on my laptop because the screen resolution is really small, so we want everything to be at the bottom so we have enough space at the top. Then there's also desktop icons, so these bad boys here. You can change this, you can make it smaller. I definitely will make it smaller because they are rather big. Wait a minute. Is that the right one? I'm pretty sure it's the right one, right? Tweak to customize GNOME shell, change the behavior, and disable UI elements. Lock menu visibility. Is that the right one? I don't think that's the right one. No, sorry. So this one basically changes the GNOME shell customization, while the one I was talking about was called Quick Settings Tweaker. If we enable that, that should fit in a bunch of more things. It will basically add like the notifications will be put in there instead of being put in the calendar. As you can see here, the calendar looks really small now. But if we disable this, our notifications should be put back into here. So I usually like leaving it in the calendar. But yeah, there's a lot of extensions that are pre-installed in here, and you can really like customize it to your liking. But if you're like if you want to try out vanilla GNOME, then I would disable like arc menu, dash to panel. I wouldn't enable dash to dock because by default GNOME doesn't use like a dock or panel. It has a dock in the foreground when you use the super key to go to your applications. That's where the dock lives. But yeah, that's about it for GNOME extensions, I would say. So, the next thing you would grab probably is, you go into your GNOME software, this is where you grab the majority of your applications, your flatpak applications, your system applications. If you want to do updates, you can do updates in here, but I would not recommend it, as some things could break because of how Nobara is set up with its own repositories. GNOME software doesn't really, what's the word? Like, it doesn't really care. But some applications that you can grab from here would probably be like Steam, I would say, which Steam is pre-installed on Nobara, so you're actually all good there. I forgot that it was pre-installed, so that's a really good thing, I would say. Also things like Proton Up, I think it's called. That's pre-installed as well, right? I'm pretty sure Proton Up is installed. Yeah, Proton Up Qt is pre-installed, so this is for injecting Proton or Proton versions. And there's some other versions of like custom Proton versions that you can inject into Steam and other applications like Lutris, Bottles, Heroic. And it's a really good application if you want to do that stuff. And that's basically it for today's video. There's not much else you can really talk about with Nobara. I'll start probably, if I kept recording this video, I'd probably start talking about GNOME things and you guys can probably just go hunt around in your settings and you'll find some neat things if you've never used GNOME before. But that's the majority of things that you can set up in Nobara. So if you guys like this install tutorial, I would give it a like. I'd give it you can subscribe if you want to. I don't really care that much. But we are close to 500 subs. I think we're at like 475, I think. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. And if you guys have any issues at all with anything Linux related when it comes to like the gaming side of things, or even some general things or issues you have, you can definitely comment down below and I'll try and help you guys out. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.